Hello everyone, this is the first video in a series on exponential growth. In this video I will explain to you how you can calculate using factors. To do so I will start by explaining what factors are, and after that I will explain to you how you can calculate what I call or describe as the whole and how you can use this to calculate a percentage. So first of all, the question is, what is a factor? How do we calculate with a factor? In the broadest sense, a factor is something you multiply by. But as you could already see in the intro, we're going to do something with percentages, so we're going to have a specific look at that, how a factor and a percentage relate. Basically what we're doing is we're trying to find one number that we can multiply by to find a part of something, a percentage of something. So let's say I want to find out what 60% of something is. Maybe I want to know what 60% of 50 grams is. I don't know, maybe I need this for a recipe or something. Then what I'm going to do is I'm not going to make a table. I'm not going to use a table to calculate my percentages. Instead, I'm going to calculate a factor. And that factor I get by dividing my percentage by 100. So my factor in this case would be 60 divided by 100 is 0.6. And you can essentially think of this as a fraction, what part of the 50 grams we need. We need 0.6 parts of the 50 grams. So from that, I of course need a formula to get that part. And as I said, factor is something you multiply by. So we literally just multiply the whole by the factor. So to get that part that we need, we take our 50 grams and we multiply it by our factor to get that the part we need is 50 times 0.6 is 30 grams. So that's the first example of how factors work. And here I calculated the part. But as I said, in the next example, I'm going to calculate the whole. And we're constantly going to be using the same formulas. The same formula to get the factor and the same formula to actually calculate the part, the whole, etc. So suppose the jacket is on discount and costs €66.50 after 30% discount. And we want to know the original price. We want to know the 100%, the whole. We know the percentage because we still pay 70% after 30% discount. From that, we calculate the factor using the first formula. So my factor is 70 divided by 100, so 0.7. So 0.7 is the fraction of the price that I still pay. And I can fill this into my second formula. I know the parts, I know the factor. So the part, 66.5, equals the whole times 0.7 times the factor. This is an equation we can solve. To get the whole, we have to divide by 0.7. So the whole is 66.5 divided by 0.7, and it turns out that the 100%, the original price, was 95. Now we can also go the other way around. We can also calculate the percentage if we know the part and we know the whole. Again, without using a table. So suppose we have a class of 28 students and 15 of those are girls. And we want to know what percentage of the class is a girl. In this case, it's not going to be a nice number, so we're rounding off to one decimal. We know the part, we know the whole. So because the part is 15 girls, the whole is 28 students, we need to figure out the percentage, but we can't get there straight away. We don't have a formula with all of that. So we start with the second formula, filling in the part and the whole. So 15 is 28 times some factor, times some fraction. And then to get the factor, well, we have to divide by 28. And we get 0.535. But it doesn't end there, so we use a ... to show that we didn't round off. After this, now that we know the factor, we can use the first formula to find out what the percentage is. So that 0.535 is the percentage divided by 100. So to get that percentage, we need to multiply by 100. And if we do that, we find out the percentage of the class that is a girl is approximately 53.6%. So to summarize, we have two formulas. We've been working with a factor. The factor was something we multiplied by, and using that second formula, we see that we specifically multiply by the factor to get a part of a whole. And that factor tells us something about the fraction of the whole that we're looking at. And to get that factor, we use the first formula and we divide the percentage by 100. In the next video, I will explain a bit more about what we can do with factors, and in the following videos, we will build up to what is called exponential growth. So if you want to figure out what exponential growth is and what it has to do with these factors, you will have to continue to follow this series of videos.